Road Transport and Highway Minister Nitin Gadkari says India will not allow Chinese company to participate in highway projects, including joint ventures. Also says this is a step towards making India self-reliant. Home Ministry names 9 individuals related to Khalistan movement as terrorists under the provisions of the UAPA Act. This comes after the Act was amended in 2019 to include a provision of designating an individual as a terrorist. The flood situation continues to be grim in Assam. Death toll climbs to 33 in the state. 14,95,000 people affected in 21 districts. 87,000 hectares of cropped area has been affected. Relief and rescue operations in full swing. Recovery rate approaches 60%. Nearly 1,30,000 more recovered cases than the active cases. Over 3,47,000 people cured or discharged. 17,400 succumbed to the illness. Global cases crossed the 1 crore 6 lakh mark. Hong Kong police arrest people for violating the law on safeguarding national security in the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region. India reacts for the first time on Hong Kong situation, highlights developments at UNHRC. Good morning. Welcome to English News. I am Anil Thomas. Now for the stories in detail. Hong Kong police arrested anti-government demonstrators assembled on the streets on Wednesday, breaking up the first protest since China introduced sweeping security legislation that allows punishment for calling for secession or subversion. By late afternoon, Hong Kong police said they have made arrests for illegal assembly, obstruction and possession of weapons, including 2 arrests for violating the new law. The arrests and protests coincide with the 23rd anniversary of Hong Kong's official handover to China in 1997. Given the large Indian community presence in Hong Kong, India has been keeping a close watch on the recent developments. India reacted on the development in Hong Kong, saying we have heard several statements express concerns over these developments. We hope the concerned parties will take into account these views and address them properly, seriously and objectively. Well, on the situation in Hong Kong, India has said it has taken note of the several statements expressing concerns on these developments. India's envoy to the UN bodies in Geneva, Rajiv K. Chandar, said that given the large Indian community that make Hong Kong its home, India has been keeping a close watch on the recent developments.
Given the large Indian community that makes the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region of China its home, India has been keeping a close watch on recent developments. We have heard several statements expressing concern on these developments. We hope the relevant parties will take into account these views and address them properly, seriously and objectively.
Meanwhile, U.S. State Secretary Mike Pompeo said that the United States is deeply concerned about the law's sweeping provisions and the safety of everyone living in the territory. He also added that the United States will continue to implement President Trump's directive to end Hong Kong's special status.
The United States is deeply concerned about the law's sweeping provisions and the safety of everyone living in the territory, including Americans. Article 38 of the new law also purports to apply to offenses committed outside of Hong Kong by non-residents of Hong Kong, and this likely includes Americans. This is outrageous and an affront to all nations. We will continue to implement President Trump's directive to end Hong Kong's special status.
Well, speaking on the completion of 5 years of Digital India via a digital conference or a video conference, Union Minister for Communications, Electronics and IT, Ravi Shankar Prasad, said that the ban on 59 Chinese apps is a great opportunity for Indians to come with good apps. The minister said the ban allows or gives an opportunity for the Indians to come up with apps themselves, and with this, we can stop our dependence on foreign apps.
In the wake of the ban which we have imposed, I don't want to go into the details of it. The emergency power has been exercised and the legal process is being followed. But I think it's a great opportunity. Can we come with good apps made by Indians? Prasar Bharati. Let the dependence on these foreign apps with their own agenda for a variety of reasons must stop. Let us take this as an opportunity that India will become a big center of made in India apps.
Well, Road Transport and Highway Minister Nitin Gadkari says India will not allow Chinese companies to participate in highway projects, including joint ventures. While speaking to a news agency, he said that government will not permit joint ventures with Chinese partners to construct roads. The minister said that the government will ensure that Chinese investors are not entertained in the micro, small and medium enterprises sector. World over, there is a growing discontent over the use of Chinese telecom infrastructure and apps. India's action of banning 59 apps and discouraging the use of China-made hardware in Indian telecom sector is finding appreciation globally. US Foreign Minister Pompeo said that India's clean app approach will boost India's sovereignty, integrity and national security. Well, India and China have been talking through established military and diplomatic channels to address the situation along the LOC. Commanders from the Indian Army and the Chinese PLA held a meeting at Chushul on the Indian side for another round of talks on 30th of June. It was the third senior military commander level engagement to discuss about issues related to disengagement at the face of sight along the LOC and de-escalation from the border areas. Sources say both sides have stressed on the need for an expeditious, phased and stepwise de-escalation as a priority. This is in keeping with the agreement between Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar and his Chinese counterpart during the conversation on June 17th that the overall situation would be handled in a responsible manner and that both sides would implement the disengagement understanding of June 6th sincerely. The 30th June meeting was held in a business-like manner, keeping in view the COVID-19 protocols. The sources say that more meetings are expected at the military and diplomatic levels to arrive at mutually agreeable solutions. Well, now more on that story. Abhishek Jha, correspondent, joining us this morning. Abhishek, good morning. Abhishek, after banning Chinese apps, India racing Hong Kong at UN. How do you see this? Is this seen as a retaliatory steps in terms of, reputational cost to Beijing?
Actually, Anil, we should see this whole thing of India reacting to this Hong Kong situation as a departure from recent or traditional stand that India have had on the issues of other countries. We know that in Hong Kong, China is deeply involved. In fact, there were concerns raised earlier also from the pro-democratic protests that China is meddling with this Hong Kong administration, and everything that is being done against those pro-democracy protesters is on the behest of China by the Hong Kong present administration. So and now bringing that the new legislation about this changed Hong Kong security law. This all tells a lot about how China is meddling with this Hong Kong affair, and there is a perception that in long run China wants to almost capture Hong Kong territory and rule Hong Kong, and this whole concept of two nation theory will diminish. So the world over there has been discontent over China's growing expansionism. And this is one of the time and one of the issue where the global and many other countries have also raised this issue about this whole human rights violation and Chinese interference in Hong Kong administration. India, on its own part, has also raised this issue. It has said that a huge Indian diaspora lives in Hong Kong, and their security and their concern is something that India is keeping a close watch on.
Okay.
And it has also believed, it has also hoped that all stakeholders, those who are involved in this recent developments in HongOng, will sit together and maybe they will find some solution to it.
Okay. Abhishek, looking at, the first time that India has spoken out on the Hong Kong issue, what could be the reasons, for this particular, this reaction from the Indian end?
Anil, we know that India and China, they are not, sharing the best of the relationship at this time, especially after this Galwan face-off.
Agreed.
So both diplomatic and military standoff face-off are continuing at various junctures. And India speaking something about Hong Kong, where we know that China is openly involved, is something that India is trying to, trying to corner China alongside other countries of the world. And this is somewhat diplomatic status that India is trying to open up against China, where it can build some pressure on China also, because so far India has not been, giving any statement or any commentary about China and its involvement and its other expansionist, rule or other expansionist policy. But
okay.
This is a departure from old held, policy of India, and we will have to look forward how this whole diplomatic, new pragmatism that India is trying to adopt unfolds in the days to come.
Okay. Abhishek, also, how many countries are together now, in raising this voice against, the way in which China has gone about handling the Hong Kong issue? How many countries are, together when it comes to raising the voice, and India also joining that particular chorus now, in raising its voice against what's happening in Hong Kong?
I think, Anil, it's almost like 27 or like maybe above more than 24 countries who have raised voice against this human rights violation in Hong Kong at the United Nations Human Rights Council. Also, India's ambassador, India's permanent representative to UN office in Geneva, he has given the statement. In other countries, we know that in United Nations United States, President Trump himself says a lot about this Hong Kong issue. Mike Pompeo, the US Secretary of State, he has said a lot about these things.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you and appreciate you joining us this morning with those updates there on that particular story there. Well, moving on, collective and focused efforts for containment and management of COVID-19 by the government along with the states and union territories have led to the recovery rate among COVID-19 patients fast approaching 60%. According to the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, the figures of active cases stand at 2,20,114, while 3,47,978 patients have been cured or discharged. 17,400 is the number of people who have lost their battle against the virus, while the recovery rate, which continues to improve, stands at 59.43%. Well, back home, the CBCID, which took over the investigation into the Jayaraj and Benkin's custodial death case in Shantakulam in Thoothukudi district, has arrested a police sub-inspector on charges of murder. CBCID DSP Shankar said that the FIR in the case has been altered to include murder charges against the two sub-inspectors, Raghu Ganesh and Balakrishnan, and 4 others, including 2 constables. Raghu Ganesh was arrested after interrogation at the CBCID office in Thoothukudi late last night. He was produced before a judge and then sent to Thoothukudi jail. Earlier, the CBCID officials visited the home of the deceased to speak to the family members and the location of the mobile shop from where the duo were picked up by the police. Tamil Nadu police had arrested Jayaraj and his son Benkins on June 19 for keeping their mobile phone shop at Shantakulam open beyond the permitted hours during the lockdown and lodged them at the Kovilpatti sub-jail. The duo were later brought to Kovilpatti Government Hospital, where they died of injuries allegedly sustained during interrogation in police custody. The Madurai bench of the Madras High Court took suo motu cognizance of the incident after it triggered a nationwide outrage, following which the state government announced that the case would be transferred to the CBI. It observed that there was enough prima facie material to register a murder case against the police officials concerned. The court directed the Tirunelveli CBCID Deputy Superintendent of Police, Anil Kumar, to take over the investigation into the custodial deaths till the CBI took over the case. Meanwhile, the National Human Rights Commission has issued a notice to the Tamil Nadu Director General of Police, J.K. Tripathi, Tirupati and Thoothukudi Superintendent of Police, Arun Balagopal, over the death of a father and son, allegedly due to their torture in police custody in the district last month. The NHRC said that the reply to the notice must include the inquest report, post-mortem examination report, medical treatment record, the magisterial inquiry report and the health screening report of both victims. It added that the reply must be submitted within 6 weeks. Well, for more on that story, Philip Matthew, our correspondent, joining us. Philip, we've read a long, detailed update. What's happening there on ground zero?
Well, Anil, I can tell you that we are just getting reports that apart from Raghu Ganesh, the other 3 police officials involved in this particular incident, that is Sub-Inspector Balakrishnan and 2 other constables, have also been arrested. This is the reports that we're just getting from our sources. Of course, events have, basically acquired momentum since last night when the CBCID officially took over the case following the directions of the Madurai bench of the Madras High Court. The officials visited the location of the incident as well as the homes of the deceased, and thereafter interrogated the police officials before they were taken into custody this morning. So clearly they've been arrested, and now the legal process will take over. But for the moment, clearly it will help to dampen public outrage, because one of the key demands of most of the protesters was that the charges would need to be altered to include, murder charges against the police officials concerned, and that is now being done, and that will go some way towards assuaging the sentiments of local people.
Okay, you know what, Philip, what's the feeling there on the ground when it comes to this particular story? This particular story that happened has now made it into a national headline. What's the feeling there on the ground when it comes to this story and the way it has been handled by the police?
Well, as I said, the key demand of most of the family members as well as the local public was that murder charges needed to be framed against the accused police officials, and that has now been done. The FIRs have been altered to include murder charges against the 4 accused, and that will go, as I said, a long way in basically soothing feelings of the local people, because there was a great deal of agitation when this incident took place. In fact, protests led not just by local people but even by various political parties were held on a regular basis in front of the police, in front of the police office as well as the collectorate, demanding justice in the case. And now that the FIRs have been altered, clearly that will go a long way towards assuaging the sentiments of local people.
Okay, Philip, let's hope that there is justice at the end of the day, and we get to see some more on this particular story. We'll keep tracking that story for you. Thank you for joining us this morning with those updates on that particular story from Tamil Nadu. Well, moving now to taking a look at world numbers with regards to COVID. At the global level, the number of confirmed COVID-19 cases have crossed the 1 crore 6 lakh mark, with over 5,14,000 fatalities. According to the latest data compiled by the Johns Hopkins University, 1 crore 6 lakh 44,064 cases of COVID-19 have been reported across the world. United States continues to remain the worst hit with over 26 lakh 78,000 cases, with 1 lakh 27,527 deaths, followed by South American country Brazil and European country Russia. Brazil reported over 14 lakh 48,000 cases and over 60,000 deaths, while over 6 lakh 53,000 cases have been reported in Russia, with 9,521 fatalities. United States recorded a 7th consecutive day of record new cases of COVID-19 infections. Hospitalizations and deaths from COVID-19 have been soaring in the most populous U.S. state starting around the weekend. 1,199 COVID fatalities have been reported across the United States in the last 24 hours. due to the increased death toll and cases number. Many U.S. states, particularly in the South and the West, have had to pause their reopening processes. In California, indoor activities will be banned in most places for at least 3 weeks. All bars and brew pubs, whether indoor or outdoor, will also close in 19 counties where 70% of the population live. Over the past 24 hours, 110 people have died in California, while Florida, Texas and other states are also seeing a surge in cases and hospitalizations from COVID-19. Meanwhile, New York has also announced that the city would postpone indoor dining in the city's restaurants, considering the uptick in other parts of the country. The city was slated to enter phase 3 of its reopening plan on July 6th. Amidst the upsurge, drive-through coronavirus testing sites is becoming a hotspot, with people queuing up in large numbers. Testing sites seek to ramp up testing, reduce the pressure on emergency rooms, while keeping patients in their cars to avoid the spread of the virus. The World Health Organization, that's WHO, has strictly warned that the nations who fail to use every mechanism available to combat the still raging novel coronavirus will struggle to beat it. Amidst the worsening conditions, the WHO has planned to send 2 experts from headquarters to join its country team in China to establish the scope for a mission looking into the origins of the virus. Heavily criticized by the United States and others for secrecy and for a late response, China has said it was transparent throughout and would support an investigation once the pandemic is under control. Well, that's all we have time for in this edition of news. Remember to maintain safe distance and stay safe. Thanks for watching.